insulting to him. And I finally told him, I said, Jesse, don't do it. Don't do it for 20 bucks. You tell her, keep your money, I'll do it for you as a favor. Because you don't want someone downplaying you that way, and you don't need to be believing that you're only worth 20 bucks. Now, someone asks you to do something, you should do it. Peg and I have been doing this for a long time. We always step up and show property if in a jam for anybody in here, for zero. Because one day you're gonna need it. It's always something you should reciprocate. But you do it because you wanna do it, not because you're doing it because you're someone's, stepchild and getting 10 bucks an hour here. No, not gonna happen. You're bigger than that, you're better than that, your time's not worth that. So I'll do it for you as a favor. But remember who I am, I'm just as great as you, I'm equal as you, if not, I wanna be better. I'm not saying you should say you're better than me, but don't do that. We need to work together as a team and help each other out, but because you wanted to do it, not because someone's giving you 10 bucks here. Don't cheapen yourself to that point. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about working our SOI, but also what we're going to talk about is becoming a leader. So because you're running your own company, you're running your own show, you are a leader to the people that you work with. It's important to realize that they're looking for you for advice. They're looking for you on what you have to offer as a business professional. So we're going to talk about becoming a leader, and we'll watch a video on it as well. Okay, so let's see. So a lot of people think, and a lot of agents will tell you that you should always ask for business from your SOI. And I always thought that, and I'm not saying that they want you to flat out just say, hey, if you know anybody, it's always the same line. Do you know anybody thinking about buying or selling? Please let me know this and that. And I started thinking about this because I was at a wedding this weekend. And it was somebody that I went to high school with. It was pretty affluent within the academic community. So at that event, we had a lot of teachers and principals and coaches and then former students and all this kind of stuff. So at the reception, this past coach that was our high school coach when I was a kid, he says, you don't even know this, but you sold the home that I bought and this and that, and we're talking about that. And I said, oh, great, who was your agent? He said, Dan Murphy. And I said, oh my God, I love Dan. Dan's great. We even though we don't work for the same company, it's like we're in it together as a team. And we are. You don't need to have agents in your own office to have a good relationship. Believe me, I have many of transactions that go through where people, they see my offer, it's going through, or at least it's elevated to the top of as long as it's equal, it's gonna be selected probably over someone else. And sometimes people will share with me inventory they have coming up and vice versa. You want that kind of relationship with these people. So, point of the whole story was he started telling me Dan was a great guy and Dan's this and Dan's that the other gentleman was telling me. And he says, matter of fact, because I was at that wedding because I sold him the home. So the home we were at the wedding, the reception at, was the home that I sold. So the bride and groom were talking to everybody. He's the guy that sold us his home. He's the guy. So then this guy says, I was going to refer Dan to them, but somehow they got involved in you and you did a great job and this and that, but I was going to refer Dan to them. And it kept making me think about my business, what made me successful, and why people keep using me. I don't think I've ever asked once for business from my SOI. And I started thinking about it, I go, why did they refer me? And these are the things I want you guys to take in. The reason that you want people to be your number one fan. Have you guys ever hired a contractor who's done a good job? Like whether it's a gardener or a contractor, anything. Believe me, you want to give that guy's number to someone else. They didn't ask you to go refer him to do tile, or whatever it is that you hired him for. but you're going to keep going, I want that guy to be just as successful or do a good job because I want him to be successful because he did such a good job for me. You want people to be your advocates like that. And the way this guy was boasting about this other agent is what people do for me with me as well. And that's the key to this whole thing. It's the key to everything we've been talking about the listing presentation, about meeting with buyers, about everything is about building a relationship because people want to do business with people they like. It's not about begging this, but it takes work to do all this. It's not that easy. So I want you to watch this video. We're gonna get into more of this discussion, but I want you to understand.
Do you love your wife? Yes. Right? Prove it. Like, what's the metric? Give me the number that helps me know, right? Because when you met her, you didn't love her, right? Now you love her, right? Tell me the day the love happened. It's an impossible question, right? But it's not that it doesn't exist, it's that it's much easier to prove over time, right? So all leadership is the same thing. It's about transitions. So if you were to go to the gym, right? It's like exercise, right? If you go to the gym and you work out and you come back and you look in the mirror, you will see nothing. And if you go to the gym the next day and you come back and you look in the mirror, you will see nothing, right? So clearly there's no results, can't be measured, it must not be effective. So we quit, right? Or if you fundamentally believe that this is the right course of action and you stick with it, like in a relationship, I bought her flowers and I wished her happy birthday, and she doesn't love me. Clearly I'll be loved. You know, that's not what happens. If you believe there's something there, you commit yourself to an act of service. You commit yourself to the regime, the exercise. You can screw it up. You can eat chocolate cake one day. You can skip a day or two. You know, it allows for that. But if you stick with it consistently, I'm not exactly sure what day, but I know you'll start getting into shape. I know. And the same with the relationship. It's not about the events. It's not about intensity. It's about consistency, right? You go to the dentist twice a year, your teeth will fall out. You have to brush your teeth every day for 2 minutes. What does brushing your teeth twice a day for 2 minutes do? Nothing. Unless you do it every day, twice a day for 2 minutes, right? It's the consistency. Going to the gym for 9 hours does not get you into shape. Working out every day for 20 minutes gets you into shape. So the problem is we treat leadership with intensity. We have a 2-day offsite, we invite a bunch of speakers, we give everybody a certificate. You're a leader, right? Those things are like going to the dentist. They're very important, they're good for reminding us or getting us back on track, learning new lessons, but it's the daily practice of all the monotonous, little, boring things like brushing your teeth that matter the most. She didn't fall in love with you because you remembered her birthday and bought her flowers on Valentine's Day. She fell in love with you because when you woke up in the morning, you said good morning to her before you checked your phone. She fell in love with you because when you went to the fridge to get yourself a drink, you got her one without even asking. She fell in love with you because when you had an amazing day at work and she came home and she had a terrible day at work, you didn't say, yeah, but let me tell you about my day. You sat and listened to her awful day and you didn't say a thing about your amazing day. This is why she fell in love with you. I can't tell you exactly what day, and it was no particular thing you did. It was the accumulation of all of those little things that she woke up one day and as if she pressed a button, she goes, I love him. Right? Leadership is exactly the same. There's no event. There's no thing I can tell you you have to do that your people will trust you. It just doesn't work that way. It's an accumulation of lots and lots of little things that anyone by themselves is innocuous and useless. Literally, pointless by themselves. People will look at little things that are good leadership practices and say, that won't work, and you're absolutely right. But if you do it consistently, and you do it in combination with lots of other little things, like saying good morning to someone, that looking them in the eye. My friend George, who's a 3-star general in the Marine Corps, he says his test for leadership, and I love this, he goes, his test for a good leader is if you ask somebody how their day is going, you actually care about the answer. Right? The number of times we're walking to a meeting, we're rushing, we go, how are you? Not good, I gotta get to you later, I'm late for a meeting. If you ask the question, you were standing there and you were listening to the answer. It's those little innocuous things that you do over and over and over and over that people will say, I love my job. But I like my job. I like my job means, yeah, the challenge is great, they pay me well, I like the people. I love my job means I don't want to work anywhere else. I don't care how much somebody else is willing to pay me. I'm devoted to the people here, and I care desperately about the people here as if they were my family. In business, we have colleagues and coworkers. In the military, they have brothers and sisters.
Back in the day, and I mean way back, our ancestors lived off the land, drank water from natural springs, and
That's how they think of each other, right? If you really have a strong corporate culture, the people will think of each other like brothers and sisters. Don't they? It's like a family, right? No. Brothers and sisters. Deep love. Fight, but the love doesn't go away. Right? Bicker, the love doesn't go away. And I'll fight with my sister, but if you threaten my sister, you're going to have to deal with me. Right? We'll fight internally, we'll bicker with each other, but nobody's going to hurt each other, and if anything from the outside shows up, you're looking at a unified front. Brothers and sisters. Now, how do you create brothers and sisters out of strangers? Common beliefs, common values. Parents, in other words, executives who care about their children's success, who care to raise their children, teach them skills, discipline them when necessary, help them build their self-confidence so that they can go on and achieve something more than you could have ever imagined achieving for yourself. That's leadership. An absolute love and devotion for the people who've committed their lives to this enterprise.
That's such a brilliant reframe. It's so simple and so beautiful,
And unbelievably hard work.
it is and it isn't. Here's why it is. You said it, it's hard to measure, right? It's hard for me to show.
It's hard to measure in the short term. It's very easy to measure in the long term. Over the long term, the traditional metrics will go up. All your revenues, profits, market share, the traditional metrics will go up, and more importantly, they'll go up more stably, right? You'll be able to weather hard times better because the people will come together, they won't abandon ship, right? Over the long term, the traditional metrics are just fine. But also over the long term, your churn will go down, right? You won't be going through employees as much, right? Over the long term, you'll find that loyalty is much higher, that people will turn down better paying jobs, right? Over the long term, all the traditional metrics are just fine, and then some. It's only...
I would suggest you watch the rest of that. But do you guys get what he's saying?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're working with, I want you to take the relationship with the wife, and that needs to be your clientele. It's not, there's no answer of how to make that bond. But we're going to talk about things that you need to start doing, and you need to do it because you want to do it, not because you're looking for a paycheck. We in this room have created a really good, like he's saying, family environment. I think we all want to come and work here. It's a great place. So, sorry, choking. We created a great place to work. You don't get that. And why is that? Because we're all on the same level. We're all pushing to help one another to achieve greatness. And when you get rid of the nonsense, the things that are people that are outsiders talking to you about animosity, like he's doing it for this or she's doing it for that, or what's the agenda, or what he's not really doing this. And you really look at yourself as the leader of your own company and say, look, I'm running my show. I'm the CEO of my business. These people are helping me achieve greatness. But you have to look down as a CEO. Is my business running the way it should be running? If you were the person that you hired, if you were above the CEO and you hired him to run your business, would you fire him? Is the place running the way you would want, the way you dreamed about your business running? You have an opportunity to own your own business. But we let everyone else try to run it. We're waiting for these magical words to come in on how to run our business. You're here to take a little of this, a little of that, and learn the philosophies of this stuff and how to be better. But the business is yours. So there's a bunch of restaurants there. What separates them? Think about that. What is it? Probably the customer service. Probably the quality of the food. It's not that hard to really look at this, but the reason why we're going into this deeper than normal is because there's a lot of people telling you things that just isn't right. Please give me business. It's like, come on. But if you had a connection, you took the time to really work your sphere, meaning that you called them up, you cared about what they were doing, they won't want to do business with anyone else. Believe me, they will be your biggest advocates. That's how your SOI grows. But it takes what this guy's saying. It's not send a bunch of crap and see you later. It doesn't work that way. It's not real. It's a fake relationship. You gotta put time into it. So remember, we have to be top of mind. So we have to do some activities that are going to help us in doing this stuff too as well. So let's talk about how we can start hitting this stuff in more like on social media and some active stuff. So some activities we need to do, or we could do, maybe if you're farming, you could do food drives, door knocking. Door knocking is builds some connection. Calls. So we can call your SOI about market updates. I'm trying to help you. This is the stuff that'll help you build this connection a little bit. Sometimes we're lost and we go, well, I really don't know how to call or what to do. Well, you can call about market updates. You can call about the change in the interest rate. Investment opportunities. Sometimes you have people that want to buy rentals. Move up opportunities. Call your clients that maybe you feel have outlived their home. You know, you need a bigger home. Or have that discussion. Have you ever thought about possibly purchasing a larger home? Industry news that might be relative to them. And you know, don't just call and tell someone this happened, and if it really isn't relevant to them, it doesn't make sense. Refer them. You know, if they have a trade or they do something, try to refer them, reciprocate the business. You know, just checking in calls. I do that a lot. Hey, what's going on? Hadn't talked to you in a long time. Just listed, just sold, if relevant to them. Something just sold in the neighborhood for a lot of money. Maybe they should know. You never know, they might want to sell. These are good ways of contacting. So the key is you want to stay top of mind. So remember, mind share is key. It's an idea that people have of you and the reputation you have created. This is the idea of people that they have of you and the reputation you created. You want to be visible. And you want to be popular within the area that you're working. So if you're working a farm, you want to be the person that's the person. You know, if you have a listing, consistency, showing that you know the knowledge of the area is what's gonna, doing it one shot mailers, they don't work. But if you're always the person going there, and you know them by name, and you're the guy, and they come to the open house, and they know you by name, and your signs are up all the time in the neighborhood, that's the person they're gonna call. It takes a lot of work. So if that's the kind of business you want, don't just waste your money and send out a $300 mailer. Won't work. But if you put the time in, build a relationship, the business will feed you. So let me ask you, what do you think people think of you? Like Jesse, what do you think generally people think of you as an agent? How do they view you? The public.
Agents and clients.
I'm talking about clients. I'm talking about what do your clients think of you?
Caring, considerate, hardworking.
caring, considerate, and hardworking. Okay. What about you?
That I listen, that I'm always available, and I have good communication skills.
Garrett?
I'd say they think I'm new, but also like pretty dedicated to them because other clients, I guess.
Okay. What about you, Juan?
Available, and they know that they can trust me, and I give them a good direction.
Okay. You?
I'm just there to help.
There to help? Okay.
Go above and beyond.
Above and beyond? Okay. Brandon?
Always honest and hardworking, and tell them what they need to hear, not what they want to hear.
You guys heard a lot there, and it's all good, and that's what people should be thinking of you. But you got to make people aware that you're that person. You know, it doesn't do any good if people aren't aware of it. And the problem we have is we think we can go through this business by knowing that we were good people, knowing that we do all this, but people don't really know that. They never got to know you. So you can't be the ninja realtor in real estate. You have to be out meeting people, going to mixers, doing events, doing things that people get to know you. And ultimately, Juana said something that was really important, is that they need to trust you. And trust doesn't come easy. If you look at your friends that are core, who would it be that you would hand your checkbook to, knowing that no matter what, he's gonna pay your bills and take care of everything for you and not rip you off? What did it take to build that bond? Your people need to trust that Ken, I know you got my back. I trust that you're doing the right thing. People say that to you. But you gotta show it. You gotta show that you're able to do that. They want you to start considering, like, how are you gonna start building your mind share? Start thinking about what steps am I gonna take to start building my mind share? So a way that you need to maybe look this up, that I started thinking about it, that might help you is, have you guys heard of an influencer? You know what an influencer on YouTube is? Or
Yeah.
Okay. That's who you need to be. Why do people use influencers or follow influencers? They put out a product that is great, usable, and valuable. Whether the product's advice or an actual product, people like it, and eventually they keep watching that person because they like whatever it is. I'm sure you follow things. Why are you following it? Because eventually you might have used the product and you like it, and guess what happens? You're going to tell someone else, and the word of mouth and the word of mouth. That's the same thing that happens in your business. You need to be an influencer in your business. You need to put out a product that people can trust and then later will rave and talk about. It's the same thing. So just, it's really hard to conceptualize all these things. So I'm giving you examples that maybe something will click in and go, I get it. I get it.
Do you mind if I build on that
Yeah,
topic?
go ahead.
Okay. So just real quick, leadership's always a very important just quality and topic that I like to discuss and talk about, because I know what it's done for myself, my business, especially in growing as an agent. And it's a lot of things that I wish I would have learned starting out, right out the gate. And I didn't understand how important that leadership quality was, but I was obsessed with it, especially when the owners of the company, as I got to know George and John and them, I asked them, as well as I asked Ken, what types of books can I read? So you've heard Think and Grow Rich. Another one, so does anybody know what leadership is? How would you describe leadership? What's your definition of leadership or a strong leader? What qualities are you looking for? What would you say, Leanna?
Someone that knows what they're talking. Like, I guess you could say speaks with conviction. It assures me that you know what you're talking about.
Okay, so somebody who speaks with conviction, right? Certainty. Okay, that's a great definition. So it's in their tone, it's in their belief. What would you say are leadership qualities?
Being decisive.
Being decisive, being able to make decisions, so knowing what you want, right? Being able to commit to something, not back and forth, or being indecisive, which is pretty common. Anything else? How would you define leadership? Sometimes it's easier to come up with the qualities as opposed to just defining it. But what is leadership? What is John C. Maxwell? You can Google search it real quick. What does John C. Maxwell say leadership is? It's easy.
The ability to guide people, or
He's been talking about it this whole time. Yeah, the ability to guide. It's the ability to influence. That's it. So when we talk about influencer, that's why it's like, I kept writing notes right out the gate when you talked about leadership, but leadership is your ability to influence. Nothing more, nothing less. That's how John C. Maxwell defines it. So he has many books if you're interested in. One's called The 5 Levels of Leadership. Another one's called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Those are his 2 top sellers right there. John C. Maxwell is one of the biggest speakers on leadership and leadership development. They hire him when, I think it's West Point, right? Yeah. West Point, where they develop all the officers and do it. He teaches there. And then he goes into top companies. He goes into churches and develops leadership there because he understands that as you develop leadership, it's personal development, but as you grow as a leader in your influence, everything else takes care of itself. That's where the relationships come into hand, and that's why it's so critical and important to understand what is influence and how do I grow in my influence. So a lot of times people think, well, I don't want to be a used car salesperson, so I'm not going to practice these skills. I don't want to be slimy. I don't want to have these tactics. And what they don't understand is whether you're a great attorney, whether you're a great real estate agent, doctor, it's your ability to influence people. It's how persuasive you are. Persuasion is a good thing as long as you have good intentions. You're not manipulating people. You're understanding your ability to influence. And as you grow as a leader, you will influence and do more business and attract more. And people want to be a part of what you bring because you understand just those 5 levels of leadership. So I'll jump into it really quick on the 5 levels because this is important to understand. Level 1 leadership. Level 1 leadership is by title. I'm the boss. It's my way or the highway. It's the lowest level of leadership, right? That's I'm the manager, so you got to do what I have to say or you're fired. You're out of here. That's level 1, okay? Doesn't take anything other than a title to be that leader. Most organizations are level 1 organizations. And John C. Maxwell's got a real funny skit about it. He says, when you see people backing into their parking lot, and as soon as it hits 5 o'clock, at 4:50, they run to the restroom because they're going to the restroom on company time, not on their time, right? And then it's like it hits 5 o'clock and the whole entire building is empty. They're all gone and they're driving out of the parking lots and they're out. You're gonna get the bare minimum from people. They're gonna check in and check out and get paid what they're gonna pay and they're out, right? That's level 1. Level 2 is earning the right. It's doing exactly what this whole topic has been about. You earn permission to lead somebody. How do you do that? How does somebody give you permission to lead them? You get to know them. You care about them. You ask them questions. What do you want to accomplish? You're focused on them. There's a sincerity of purpose in terms of leading them. That's level 2 leadership. That's the next level. You can't skip levels. You have to go from level 1 in your level of leadership. You may think you're a level 4 or level 5 leader, but if you meet somebody brand new, you're a level 1 leader. So you have to earn that right. That's level 2. Level 3, it's based on production, based on results. I know Ken Gretsch has sold many homes, high-end homes, all types of homes, right? He has 20 plus years of experience. He's helped hundreds, if not thousands of families. You think of how many directly he's impacted as well as indirectly through the agents that he's mentored and he's coached and he's trained. He's had a bigger impact, a bigger influence on the real estate community here single-handedly than probably anybody else that I know. And it's who he is, and that's level 3 leadership. So based on results, people will follow you. So as you increase your production, people will follow you. They're gonna start asking, Jesse, how'd you get Rookie of the Year? How'd you get it, bud? Right? And you had to work hard and you had to do things, so people will follow you, right? That's level 3. Level 4 is your ability to develop other leaders. What do you think we're doing here? We're developing leaders. All of you have leadership qualities. All of you are leaders. So as you grow in your leadership, now we multiply our impact. We don't add it. You add if you lead a follower, it's like 1 plus 1. Now you got 2, right? Or, 2 and 2, you got 4. And this doesn't work good for the multiplying, right? 3 plus 3 is 6. So 3 times 3 is 9 in terms of your output. So when you develop another leader, now exponentially you're growing your influence in your business. So you want to attract other leaders, not other followers, okay? Followers are a little bit easier to lead, but we want leaders. We want people who are going to be bold, who are going to grow, who are going to be dedicated to this, who aren't focused on nickel and diamond, and that's hard, especially when times are tight. It's hard. You got to focus on those things because you got to just last. That's all we're trying to do is we're trying to buy time right now until we figure this out. Once we figure it out, it's on. And all of your lives are going to be changed. And they probably already are changing and you don't even know what's happening. But it's that consistency he's talking about, that it's slowly over time, you keep doing those right things, and then out of nowhere, this abundance is going to come and it's going to change everything. Now and that's a whole nother situation you got to deal with, right? And luckily you have people who have that experience who have been able to do it, okay? So that was level 4. So level 5 is a pinnacle organization, okay? So level 5 is the ultimate. So when you think of Jim Rohn, when you think of Tony Robbins, when you think of these people who have the reputation, typically it takes 50 to 100 years to get to this type of status. You have to have influence and develop leadership so far and beyond. That's level 5.
Like
so
Napoleon Hill.
Napoleon Hill. When you think of the GE, what's it? Welch. So these top CEOs, these top people, that's level 5. So they have developed through reputation, through impact, through everything else. It's more than just being able to develop a leader, and you've built that. Wooden is a perfect example. Those are all your level 5. So just wanted to touch on it because it's so critical. And you may not think right now, why is that relevant to what we're doing as we're starting out? I'm telling you, it's everything. Okay, it's that influence. So just wanted to share that
No,
with
it's
you real
really
quick.
great. Thank you, Brandon, for
Yep.
sharing that. It's and you need to listen to that because this does come down to you being a leader in your business, and you need to influence your clientele, and that's what it is. Are you working your SOI? Are you really spending the time? Are you networking or not working? You gotta think about this. It takes time to do this, to nurture these relationships. And what are you gonna do to do that? So we have to start from baby steps and using tools that we have. The best CRM, everyone goes, I need the CRM, I need to do this. Your phone is your CRM. It's got the numbers and contacts right there. That's all you need. Call them up, you text them, you can DM them, you do whatever, it's there. Your phone is and you have social media. Those are the key components that you need at this level right now. You're not there yet to where you need that. There's a guy named Dunbar who did a study on SOIs or people that you can have as your point of contacts. He said you can't handle more than 150 people in your sphere of influence. That's it. Why?
Yeah, no, I want to ask you more about that because everybody gets so fixated on what's your CRM, what do you use?
Yeah.
I know you've sold a lot of homes, and I've seen it, and I've seen your routine in the morning with the yellow pad of paper, and you start writing them out. What are the myths and what's the truth in terms of being able to do a lot of business? Is that CRM so critical that that's more important than the way you work your business? Or, do you mind sharing just in terms of how people come to your mind and how you know who you're going to reach out to that day?
So you have to keep this. I look at it like I think of you guys. Eventually I care about you guys. I really do. I'm here because I want to see you guys become successful. I mean, I really do. It took me a long time to figure that out because I was chasing these dreams of what success is, and I thought it had to do with money. I thought it had to do with this, and then as I realized that I actually, my influence on people and seeing them grow, like a Jesse, and seeing everything he's becoming as a man, there's no greater gift for me. It really is. It touches me, boom, and it drives me. So when I think of my kids, it's the same thing. So when I'm driving, a thought will come up. I know you that have kids or family members, it doesn't have to be your kids, it could be your mom, your dad, whatever. Have you ever been driving and you just think of him and you call him? That's the way I operate my SOI. I call him because I want to call him because it's real. I call him because I remember a story of something we did. I call him about this house that I saw that happened to sell in their area for a lot of money. I call, so we have that kind of relationship. Jesse's phenomenal at this.
I just want you to read what I wrote about an hour ago. Someone's name comes into your mind, call them.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was the exact, as he was listing off all the different top of minds, that was what I wanted him to touch on.
There's times that my car shows my phone book on my car. And there's literally times that I'm just driving and I'm scrolling through and I see a name and I call him because of something I found. That's my CRM. My CRM isn't here. I have a spreadsheet, I have an Excel, I have my people because I need to know their address, I need to know whatever. I need to know, and when I started, I actually would fill out a sheet with everyone. I had Brandy submit a sheet, and I would write down the day they bought the house, their name, all their information, their pets' names, their birthdays. I would fill this out with a sheet, and then I would put the actual printout of the sheet when they were bought, and I have them. I told Jesse this one time. He's looking at me like, "Yeah, right." At the time, and I got pissed off, and I'm like, "Wait a minute." I did do this, and here it is. And I went and opened up the filing cabinet and pulled out all these books, 2010, 2000, all stacks of all the clients, all their information. And as you get into this, I'm gonna go off on a little bit with it, but there is something called an itch cycle. There's something called an itch cycle, and people that can tune into that itch cycle, you can make a lot of money. Like I lease a car every 3 years. How smart would it be for that guy to have notes that it's time to call me because I need a car? Right? Well, the average itch cycle on a home is 5 to 7 years. So if you look back at your clientele when they bought the home, it's likely based on odds that they're probably ready to move.
2 to 3 for military. They move every 3 years. That's why you want to work with military clients.
So when I originally started in the business, that's how it was, all literally on paper. Now, do CRMs work? Of course they work, because it gets to the point where you like this Dunbar theory, you can't beat time and you can't beat your memory. So there's not enough minutes in your year to do more than 150 is what the principal was. He's going, look, you can't remember them. If it walked into the room, would you know them by name? Would they know you by name? You probably don't know more than 150 people of your clientele. That's the max. Most people have 100 true people in their CRM or spreadsheet or whatever. Everyone else is open house, or I met them here, or a friend of whatever. But if I saw them, I'd go, like, what's her, that's not a true relationship. They're good to have in there, but they're not my go-to A-listers and B-listers. Those are gonna be a sweet 100. They're gonna be the people that constantly turn business.
I just like to go through your thought process. So when you get in the morning and you think of somebody, or maybe it's the night before and you put a little note that they came to your mind, I gotta follow up with them the next day. What's your process like with that? Like, what thoughts are you thinking about as you talk about the itch cycle? Or so-and-so may want to downsize, or so-and-so may want to buy a bigger home. Or I saw something on social media that, somebody's going off to college now. What is it that happens, and what are your thoughts before you reach out to them?
I'm trying to realize the connection. So when I see the connection, I usually will write it down, because I now at my point in my age, I sometimes forget. I got a lot going on. So when I come in, I like to knock everything out right when I come in, but I also am courteous to people's time. So I usually don't call till 9 a.m. But I come in and I'll write all the clients' names down on that yellow pad. Then I do a search on the MLS of everything that I think would be, like if I wanted to move up, I'm looking at what I'm gonna call them about and give them something exciting to talk about. Or if they've called me and left me a message that led me to believe that they're probably ready to move, then I'm gonna try to figure out the subject, the value of the home, for example. If they're calling me, I'm gonna look up and I'm gonna do a full profile on what I think the house is worth before I call them. I'm not just calling them and then not being prepared.
Right.
Because I know where the conversation is gonna lead to, and I don't wanna sound dumb. You know, I wanna be able to answer the question instead of saying, let me get back to you. Then I try to set the appointment. Either I always set appointments. It's either let me show you some property, or let's get together and talk about this. So it goes something like that. I sort of have an intuition though, which is weird, that comes to me, that people will just come into my mind. I don't know why. They just come in and I'll go, I need to call that guy. And sure enough, something. And I used to not follow it, and then I'd see the house listed through, you know, like even a clientele, and it would tick me off. And I go, I was gonna call you. Like I was gonna call him. Mm-hmm. I'm not perfect. I've not kept in contact with some people that I should have. And if I would have, my business would have been tenfold. There's an interesting thing you need to realize. The worst year for me, and I'm not talking about like production, I'm talking about for me, was during this political crisis we were going through in the last 2 years. What happened? Probably, I counted it, it was 30% of my clientele left the state. 30%. I literally got my sheet and wrote a yellow line, and they moved out of state. You talk about impacting your business. Those people were people that repeatedly referred me and their kids, and went out, and guess what? When they leave, their kids leave. Grandma leaves, everybody leaves. 30% of my business was gone. My son says to me, Dad, just go get a new person. It doesn't work that way. Because when you have a client, you plant a seed. Right? They move in, they don't have kids, they don't have whatever. As the time goes on, now their family has grown. So the tree starts to bear fruit. Those people need homes, whether it's the cousins, families, whatever. So this person's giving you a bunch of stuff. Then they need to move into another home. So when they sold this home right now, they moved out of state. Normally they would buy another home in here and they'd still be my client. So just dropping someone new into that plot, it takes 5 to 7 years for them to be with a tree again. So basically I just had a mass fire that came in and blew out my clientele. And I gotta build it back up again at a time where I'm nearing retirement. It's not that easy. You know, those were my go-to people, and a lot of them are gone. A lot. So, but that relationship should be that way with you. It should be, you should eventually start building this network that you can go and rely on. My phone would ring all the time. It still does, but not, not as much. Obviously, 30% is a big chunk. So you got to build that back up. So things you need to be doing is going into your social media. We talked about the 80-20 rule, which is doing like 80% of your personal life should be on that stuff. 20% should be about the stuff that you're doing. So you want to be, when you're out, I'm looking at Seth, I'm looking at people that I've worked with, and I see how the business has grown. And I realized one thing they did is when they go to an event, they share a story about the event. So don't just put cool place. Put I love it here because the beach or whatever, and people will start connecting with you. So then also you should hit your location of where you're at. My son taught me this because we were in the beach. We went to Malibu and I took a picture of him, and all of a sudden On Instagram, this realtor came up, the local realtor. So as you start putting your location and where you're at, if there's people within the area, they're gonna start connecting with you and seeing that you're there. Also use hashtags on your, if you can, if you wanna get to that level, because it also gives you some clout. But put that down. So I always say, you ever see when you buy a picture frame, the picture has something exciting going on? And it's like, wow, that's pretty cool. So you wanna be the picture that comes with the frame, you don't wanna be the frame. Tell a story. Don't just have this empty frame. You know, be that thing that people want to be a part of. People always look at my stuff and they go, I get comments like, I love your family. I can see you're a great father. I can see this. Well, I want them to think that I'm also a great realtor. You know, but it's not, I don't need to show a gazillion homes. They know that I'm a great realtor because I'm a great person. And because I'm a great person, it's someone they can trust. And that's a connection that you guys have to separate that. We think about it in the wrong way. We think that just showing a bunch of, don't be a slideshow. It's not a slideshow. You want to be a video of the, your presentation should not come in and go, okay, here's my listings, this is what I do. No, ask the questions, have discovery, have a conversation. Do it with your tools that you have. Call them up. All these things are just giving you little hints on how to connect and build that glue that's going to grow your business. So you want to like people's comments, but you also want to make sure you comment. Don't just comment on the picture. You make sure that you actually throw a comment in. Cheerlead for other people. Be connected to it. Facebook is a great thing, a great tool, because you have the birthdays that come up. It tells you it's their birthday. Well, a lot of people will just go like, well, why don't you call them? Call them up. This generation is so disconnected with actually having conversations, it kills me. But if someone calls me on my birthday, it's going to be a lot more valuable than you just hitting a check mark on a Facebook post. Or send them a card. Talk about impactful. If you send a past client a card, you've gone above and beyond what it is. Here's another one. I had this tragic accident come up. And, not me, but I'm saying someone posts that. I had this accident come up or happen. I'm going to the hospital tonight. I don't know, please put up prayers. You know, you ever see those posts? Someone says something like that? Well, how about buying them a dinner that night? Actually showing up. The connection you just made is going to go so much more. Now, I want you to keep, this is really important. You need to do this because you want to do it. It's not because you want to make a buck. And that's the hard part. That's why we talk about the Think and Grow Rich. We talk about that because it's an ethic, moral responsibility that you have. You're not doing it because you want to make money. If you do these things and you make money, you've won twice. That's a bonus. The initial gesture that you did to help people out is the gift. People don't see it that way because we got greed, we got envy, we got all these things that are in us that we need it. We're so busy on trying to track these people into making a dollar that people can see right through that. But if you have a genuine care for these people, like that guy said, when someone asks you how's your day going, and you take the time to listen instead of just answering or I gotta go. If you actually care about the people in the room, I care about you and I hope you care about me, that builds a relationship. It's a better place to work. I don't need to be calling you, show up to the meeting. I don't need to be calling you, do this, because you want to work in that environment. People want to be in a relationship like that with you as your clientele. So do the things that go the extra mile. And it's hard work. It's hard work. It takes time. So, but that's what builds this business. Yeah, it says here, I wrote it down. Being successful is going to cost you time and money. Success is not free, nor is it the responsibility of anyone else but you. The responsibility is yours. It's not anyone else's responsibility. If you want to be successful, you are the leader of your own shop. Stop making excuses for your inability to work hard. Take notice of what's working on your social post and mimic it again. There's times I'll post something, then it'll go like crazy, and then I go back to something that gets like 2 things. You can also repost things in the past that worked years later. People don't remember. Be consistent. Be authentic. People can see right through the fake crap. You got to be consistent. You got to be authentic. Authentic. Okay, so let's put a connection of your SOI, connecting with your SOI, the order of hierarchy. I'm gonna start from the least effective of connections to the most effective. So write these down. Advertising is the least effective. Number 2, direct mail. Number 3, email. Number 4, social media and posts. Number 5, texting. As it goes up, these are more impactful, okay? Number 6, direct messaging someone on Facebook or social media. Number 7, handwritten notes. Pretty impactful. As you get higher, the better, the stronger the connection is going to be. Number 8, phone calls. Phone calls is probably one of the strongest things you can do. Number 9, events and classes. If you throw an event, throw in a class. Event meaning like a gathering, like the wedding thing I just went to, or something like that. Those are pretty impactful. People feel happy that you invited them, and it builds a bond that's pretty big. Number 10, the most effective is one-on-one, face-to-face. Invite your people to coffee. Go meet them. Stop by on the holidays. I will tell you, it's one of the things I dread doing the most, and it's the most rewarding for me, is on Christmas dropping off something to everyone. And it's hard to do. It's really hard and time consuming to take time and actually go, because I'll have my spreadsheet, I have my client, and I have it mapped in the order to go. So I have all this stuff in my car, chocolates, cookies, whatever I'm going. I go to the first house. Oh my God, come on in. Oh, you should see what we did in the house. And you're going in there, and that 10-minute plan turns into an hour event. You gotta eat, you gotta have coffee. What am I gonna say? No, I'm there for that reason. So guess what? All the cookies and chocolates go back in the house every day because I don't want it to melt. Go back out next weekend. It is not like what you think. I was planning like, here you go. Hey, nice to meet you. See you later. I'm out of here. Good to see you. And as crappy as that sounds, because you're on a time restraint, but it never works out that way. People are so happy to see you, and they're thrilled on showing you, no matter what. They can come out in their pajamas, like people answer the door and they're like, and they go, oh, hold on, Sue, get the coffee. You're like, what? It's a crack up. I've never had someone obviously upset. They know who you are. They're excited that you're there, and you're giving them a gift. They don't care about the gift. They don't care. It's a gesture. And I'm telling you, I told you that story with the cookies. That guy said, I'm using the guy that remembered me on Christmas to bring me cookies. Listen to this home with me. It's not the first. I mean, there's a lot of people like that. That's real. It's real because you're thinking about them. You care about them. So the first three we talked about are not so, they have little impact. The middle though are important, and the last three are the gold. The last three are what are really important that you should be doing. And the last three, the interesting thing, we talked about the CRM, the last three are not scalable. Everybody's trying to scale things, meaning the CRM, or using fancy tools. They're not scalable. You gotta do them. You gotta do them one by one. You gotta drop that cookie off one by one. It's not the face-to-face, there's no mass program you're gonna send in to get the same effect. And that's where the hard work comes in. So are you guys ready to step up to that level? Are you gonna be that agent? Because I'm gonna tell you, if you take 100, and Jesse wanted me to play, so I think we might play it the second half. Earl Nightingale has a lot of good stuff. And I think he says that if you take 100 people that start in this business at the same time, by the time they're 65, like 4 of them will be rich. And some of them will be okay, but the majority are gonna fail. And it's hard to beat time and complacency. It's a hard game to beat. You can't beat time. You can do the best you can with time, and we're going to talk about that. That's going to be the next part. But the key to be successful in this is to first set a goal. You need to set a goal. Jesse, what do you want to do? Why are you doing this? What's your goal?
Go for this year?
No, but in general. Why did you become a realtor?
To help as many people as I can in a positive way.
Is it really that reason?
Yeah.
Okay. And what is your goal for this year?
This year to close 15 more, to sell and close 15 more homes by the end of this year.
Okay. What is your goal for the week?
For the week is 75 contacts, 5 appointments.
What's your goal for today?
For today it's 5 contacts because it's technically my day off. So
5
I'm gonna go
contacts?
door knocking after this.
Okay. What's your goal for the hour?
For the hour, right now is to get as much as from the training as I can. But if I'm prospecting, then it's generally 5 contacts an hour. If I can do 10, that's great. If I'm having good conversations, then it's just 5.
What you're going to realize is that when you want to be successful, there's going to be a desperation that you feel that at every given time, I'm doing the right thing. That's the difference between a leader, a champion, and a successful agent. Is that at every given time, he's thinking, he's assessing whether the next thing he does, whether it's worth his time. Lazy people, and which is this video you'll hear, will choose the thing that's rewarding to them, comforting, easy, pastured, the cow that's out to pasture. The person that wants to strive to be successful isn't backing his car up, taking a dump on company time. Okay? The guy who's pulling in and working, doing things that's not expected of him for zero money is the guy that's going to be successful. Because doing that open house at that mobile home got you that lead. Even though it's something you were probably not wanting to do that day. It's not a comfortable thing. But the guy or woman that wants to be a champion or a leader is evaluating and assessing whether the next thing I do is worth my time. Is it going to be productive towards my goal? Is it going to help me be successful? Is sitting on that couch and watching that 2-hour binge show leading me to my goal? Look, I'm not saying go into a prison and be unhappy. That doesn't work. You got to make this fun. You got to work as a team and we'll talk about ways of making this fun. Where it's not, because if it becomes a job and it becomes so relentless, you won't enjoy it. You know, when I go to the gym, I don't like running on a treadmill, but I love playing basketball. It's just fun for me. I get the same thing out of it. Figure out what your fun is. But I'm competitive still when I play basketball. I still want to win, and I work really hard when I'm there. That's the feeling you should have, and you should have this desperation that I don't have enough time in the day. I don't have enough time to fit what I have to do to meet my goal. What are you doing the minute you wake up? And he broke it down, not by just a year goal, not but just by, he broke it down to, and I know Jesse, he has it down to the minute. He's a little nuts. So, you know, you don't need to do that, but what is your goal?
For the year,
Just in general, why did you get into real estate?
I want to create financial wealth for myself and my family.
That's a great goal. And that's, and not that it's his is not. But we really, this will take you there. You could create financial wealth pretty easily. And what's your goal for the year?
10 transactions.
10 transactions, okay. What do you think's keeping you from achieving these goals?
Probably sticking to my schedule when I feel overwhelmed with escrows and everything, when I get too occupied on that.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, Brandon will tell you this, and I know Jesse's done it, but the biggest mistake you'll get is getting consumed in the escrow that you're in at the given time. It's the biggest mistake. You literally have to take that escrow and then put it in the drawer and keep prospecting, because that's not going to feed you for the next month. That stuff should be out. Your stuff should be allocated to other people, and they should be doing that work for you. Do not be doing the minutia that's involved in that and being consumed with that, because it'll kill you. It'll kill and stifle you. The stress and all that is going to kill you. You need to be prospecting. Deal with it in the morning, right when you get in. Put out the fire, and then go to work, prospecting. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
It's
he helped me with the schedule, so I'm good now.
Yeah, but you need to put that aside.
Mhm.
Don't keep you're worrying. Look, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
There's nothing, worrying doesn't get you anywhere.
Mhm.
Actions put the worry aside. If there's a problem, deal with it. Then there's no more worrying.
Mhm.
I'm telling you, my mentors have told me that too. They said, bite the frog's head off, whatever they say, put out the fire, whatever the saying is, get in there, knock it out. Then there's no more worrying. You dealt with it. Whether it's good, bad, or whatever, you will get the blow, it's over. It's over. Now I'm ready to move on. Doesn't matter. Gary, what's your goal? When did you get into business?
I guess I want to be able to be in a position where I can adequately provide for my family, I guess primarily financially.
Okay. And are you prepared to put the time in to do it?
I am.
And do you see yourself letting go of your other job eventually, if you could do this?
No.
No.
I want to be in a position where I can still, I want to be in both, and I want to be able to, I guess, delegate more of those responsibilities to others. And I feel like I can definitely do both. I think it will just change over time as this progresses, but ideally they work in sync together is what I would ideally like.
What would be the goal for that? What would be the purpose?
Well, like yesterday I was talking to a guy, we did an inspection for him, and he was calling to schedule the repair, and he's like, oh, I just want to get it fixed so I can sell the home. So that to me is, well, I'll make sure I go to that repair and I can start talking to him about it. But yeah, it's just one small example that has come across many times that, you know, over the years, but it would be nice to do that, and then also just, you know, let the two kind of mesh together as they will.
So the reason why I'm asking that is because I see a pattern where it concerns me. And the only concern I would have is that you're relying on that to generate your business. And it won't work. You're gonna have to do set schedule of prospecting. So you're gonna have a hard time because you have a job and you're doing this. And it works, it can work, but you're gonna have to work double. And you can't rely on just some guy telling you that. because people do that. They'll find that it happened one time, and then that's all they have. But it still requires all the other stuff, all the prospecting, all the door knocking, all the open houses, all that is going to generate, and working your SOI and all that is going to generate the business. Eventually, you're going to let someone else run it, and you'll realize that real estate's going to probably make you way more money than what you're doing. But that's your choice. I'm just saying, don't just rely on that. Juana, what's your goal?
I mean, my goal of why I got into real estate to have freedom, time freedom. You know, I don't want to be stuck in a job for many hours. I still want to be able to pick up my kids from school and schedule my own schedules on my terms.
That's good. And I noticed that you have something to prove. Is that correct?
I mean, my husband is quite successful in his job, and I want to be able to show my kids that their mom can do something too.
You want to show, you want to be an example for people.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's really good. What about you, Don?
I want to truly help people. I did that in my other career, and I want to lead them, and through a very challenging and exciting time, and be that person that kind of offers a little bit of calm in that storm. But yes, I also want some higher level of success, and to show my son too, like you said, like you can do anything you put your mind to. Cause
Yeah, that's good. I am one of those guys that I love seeing women succeed. I don't know what it is. It's just that I grew up in a different generation where women were always brought down, and it used to irritate me. I was like everyone would say, well, like some people would say to me, well, you really want your wife to work this time? I want my wife to be the most successful person she can be, whatever she wants to be. I'm like, I really enjoy seeing people achieve when someone's saying they can't do it. I would turn it around in my head and I'd say, no, you can't do it. Don't tell me that. So seeing someone, believe me, when you watch like the people that built America, or the food that built America, the show in history, and you watch the thing on the Bird's Eye Girl. Everything was given to her from Post. This is Post cereal. The daughter, who was 22, the guy just died and said she had to run the whole show. And see what she did. Those things are inspiring. As I have daughters, and I'm like, I want them to see that and be inspired, like you're saying. That's great that you're doing that. Laura, what about you?
To provide, of course, and then to help people. Another aspect of sticking to real estate, since I've been in it for a while, was not to have an easy schedule, because clearly it takes a lot of time, but to be able to be with my kids, take them to school, sports.
Yeah.
So to have somewhat of a flexible schedule, but I enjoy what I do, so.
Yeah, that's good. And the good thing is, once you start getting the schedule down, and you do, the first few years are a grind. And it's a big commitment, and you will sacrifice a lot. But after you set yourself and you get going, it does allow you to have more freedom. And you can choose and pick and choose who you want to work with. But it's a while. But what do you think, Brandon? Any thoughts on any of this?
Yeah, no, I think it's awesome. I love what I've heard from just everybody in terms of why you want to succeed in this business. I wanted to add to some of what you're saying and Leanna, but Garrett, I think what you have is pretty special, and I like that you are focused in terms of trying to make both work. I think what Ken's bringing up, he's going to bring up blind spots that you may not see yet, that he already knows through experience. So if you can do both, it is working 2 full-time jobs. It will take time to delegate, which is what you also have to do on the real estate side. So when you can learn how to effectively do it, I think you got a huge niche that I know if I were teaching my son, I would share with him, hey, get a skill, be a plumber, be something that there's always going to be a demand for. So no matter what's happening with the real estate market and cycles, you have that consistency. And I believe any type of job that's going to put you in homes and where they're going to talk to you about anything house related, I think that's a gold mine. So I think you got something special that you're just gonna, it's not gonna be easy. You're gonna have to work hard at what you're doing, but I think you're onto something pretty special. So I wanted to share that with you. And then Leanna, I wanted to bring up your situation, and I know it's because it's been a good lesson. for us to talk about. If you guys are open, are you good with that, Leanna?
Yeah.
For the group, I think it's good. We'll put you on camera here. There you go. She said Jesus. So no, just in talking about it. So you have you know you have a listing that you want to sell, and it's been a lot, right? It's a mobile home. It's not easy to sell mobile homes. We had it in escrow pretty quick. Fell out of escrow because the buyer wasn't as qualified. Did some bonehead things, so we weren't representing the buyer on that situation. But what have you learned through the experience? More than anything, just in terms of what's been your biggest lesson? Because it's
gotten so much business. That listing that we got, it's from the mobile home.
Right.
Like I've gotten so many leads. I've met so many great neighbors. I feel like I know the community very well. So I've become like the neighborhood expert, essentially.
Right.
Yeah, it'd be great to sell it so I could have my seller be happy, but selfishly, it's done a lot for me. So I'm like, all right, 35 days on market, here we are. Like, but I've gotten a lot from it.
But not even selfishly, because at times when you were feeling more overwhelmed with it, right, with the situation, the advice is exactly what I've been sharing with Ken, and it's something you learn through experience. It's not, our goal is always to help our client. It's always to help them achieve what it is that they want. Sometimes they think they know a little better and want to keep the price a little bit higher for a longer period of time. Sometimes they're not as motivated. We have to figure out how to be more effective with it. But I also know the market, and I know the cycles and how things go. And I also know she's got a cherry right now that's turning into, we were just in a house 2 days ago for a potential listing because the house was active. If the house is in escrow, nobody's calling. Nobody cares. Once it's gone, it's gone. You have a limited period of time from when you take a listing, if it's a cherry listing, that's gonna draw all the action and activity that you need to maximize. So you need to have these game plans and these checklists to get as much out of it as you can. And so in terms of keeping it in perspective, we take care of our client, we do everything we can to help service them, but in the meantime, while it is active and there's opportunity, we make sure we maximize as much as we can out of it that literally could set her up to hit her goal for the whole year off this one listing.
Do you guys remember last week's class when we did the little boxes? And maximizing that is what he's talking about. That's another feeling of desperation I always had, is like, how and what am I gonna do to squeeze every juice out of this listing? And it is productive. When you have a gold mine like that, it's something, there's certain listings that just generate tons of business. You don't want it to go into escrow right away, because then you're out of business. So it's like in my neighborhood where I live, you have an open house there, there's 30, 40, 50 people every single weekend. And they're all in the 1 point something to 2 million price point. That's what you want. You want to work something like that that's just constantly, and everybody's getting to know you. Like, the longer it's on, it's not, you don't want it too long, because you'll eventually want to sell it, but you get to meet the neighbors, you get to meet, like she said, you become the person. Well, how about being in the area that you work as your farm? You want to be that person of influence. I want to talk, these are all great things. I know Kelly's got to go. Before you leave, I want to ask you one question.
I was gonna go potty.
Oh, okay. Never mind, I'm putting you on the spot. Sorry.
I don't have to go
Wait,
till
hold this up.
11 is when I gotta go. So.
Okay, so
But I can stay for it.
Move it over.
I can hold it for a minute here.
go. I'll start with someone else.
Drinking a lot of water.
Everything's been, I think, moving. You guys are learning a lot. We've had some great achievements. We've had some great classes. I want to continue that momentum. That's why I want you to focus in on being a little bit picky on these open houses and where you're spending your time. I want to ask you guys, where are areas of frustration that you're feeling that you would want us to give you more help in? Like what is something that you're feeling that this class is not providing, or that you feel that you need help in? Let's start with Leanne. I mean, if everything's fine, it's fine. You don't have to make something up. Are you feeling? I'm just saying. I want it to be voiced. If you're feeling something, I want you to tell me. Tell me straight out. Garrett.
I guess for me it would be like, show me how to do something and I'll learn it right away and you'll never have to show me again typically. So like, I know last week we were talking about doing the just sold flyers, and I went to the I can't remember the name, I have it bookmarked, but
Breakthrough broker.
Breakthrough Broker, and then I even went to Canva, and like it's relative. It's not like the most complicated thing in the world, but when you actually are looking at it, like you got to put photos, comments, like like you got to put a lot of stuff on there that isn't exact. Like it may seem obvious to you guys of what you put on there, but I have no idea what to put on there.
Yeah.
And like you show me how to do that one time, and I can do it. I just need to be shown like the small things. I think are what need to be shown. Like at least for me, like if you show me how to do just some of the small things that may seem so simple to you guys, I'll be able to do it again. It's just doing it the one time.
No, I appreciate that. So, but the question is I want you to share with us any frustrations that you're feeling with the class or what you're maybe missing. If there's something that we're not providing, tell us. And he's saying he just shared something with us. But I will tell you this, I would never know that until you ask me. Yeah, that's the thing, is communication is gonna be a big part. So if you say, I like what you just shared with me, I can help you. If I don't know, I can't help you. And you're gonna be frustrated. We don't want that. That's why we're asking right now. So things like that, I will tell you, I don't want you guys spending hours and things like that. There's times where you can just spend $25 and have someone make you a flyer. It might be better off.
Well, so that's the thing, but that's a prime example. You say just spend $25, but I don't even know where to go spend that $25 to make a
Right,
flyer. I
but
guess
we can get you that, but I don't,
Okay,
I need to
right.
know
No,
that you
yeah,
have the
yeah.
problem.
I was actually
and then
gonna
can
tell you that after
Now,
class.
I don't want you to always, look for crutches, eventually you're gonna have to, there's certain things, like files, for example. You should do your files at first, then pass them on, but you need to know what's going on, or sit with a TC and be able to explain things with your clients yourself. Later on, pass it on. You shouldn't be doing that stuff. None of those things are worth your time. Again, a lot of this, the summary of this whole class is gonna be, thinking about your goal, thinking about how to service your clients, and assessing your time is what this whole thing's about. Assessing your time. Is what I'm doing right now gonna be worth or leading me towards my goals? And if it's not, if it's taking you 2 hours to make a flyer, like Andrew would do that. He's not here, but Andrew would just spend countless hours on something that was never gonna do anything for him. Fixated on making a perfect flyer. It's not your thing, it's not your thing. But it's not about that. I appreciate what you're saying, the candor, and just tell me though, and then I'll try to help you with it, okay? How about you, Juan?
No?
Feeling okay?
Yeah, good, great.
Kelly, do you feel any frustrations, anything you think that we should be giving you more that we're not providing?
No, I think I would like to, and I know your schedule is a little busy, but eventually do like an open house with you and watch you more versus.
Yeah, and that's really good. The people that have done open houses have probably learned a lot, I would imagine. And that's definitely something that needs to happen and will happen. Laura, is there anything that Brandon and I could do to heighten your experience here?
No, when I first came in, my biggest thing was negotiations and then listing. I didn't even realize I needed more insight on open houses and things like that until I started going into the training. So I feel like everything's been what I need.
Okay, good. All right, Brandon, you need to add anything to that? You good here? To the group?
No, I think it's solid. And one thing that I do want to compliment, I know Laura, just in the few trainings and the things that you've been a part of, it's been awesome to see how quickly you're able to take it in and then apply it and do it and get results. And for example, the listing that she took, she knew that commission was going to be an issue as well as price, and she was able to get a higher commission and was also able to get the price to where it needed to be. But it was all through the confidence of understanding it's support around, it's being trained and kind of shown the right way, but then knowing that you were able to speak with that conviction to get those things done. So I think that's pretty awesome, and I think we've got a pretty special group that's able to do that. So
Yeah, and Leanne mentioned something earlier that he's alluding to. When she said, he asked what's a great leader, and she said, when someone talks in confidence, I believe that they're a great leader.
Mm-hmm.
That, he was looking for something else, but that is important. When you guys believe in what you're selling, you have to be convinced that you are the expert. You have to be convinced that you know what you're talking about. Because people will know when you're not. And when you are, it's easy to influence people the right way and direct them in the right way. And that's what she's built over the years. She's built that experience, has built her confidence. And she has the ability to go, this is what it should be priced at, and this is what I want to get paid. And that will come naturally to you guys as you get better. There's always a give and take on certain things. And just understand, weigh things out. Weigh things out that sometimes, I'm not saying cut something, but the point of what I'm getting at is, if it's going to lead to other things, it's okay to give a little. If it's going to lead you to them buying this other home and then their mom's going to buy something, whatever it is. There's always some flexibility you need to have. Don't be just so rigid that you lose a business. Just have some flexibility. Listen to what people are asking for. Stick to your guns though and be confident. But also look at the big picture and realize, like for example, I had somebody one time that wanted to list his home in the area that I live in. And they had someone that, in their family that was a realtor, high-end realtor, the whole thing out of the area. And she asked me to do it for less money. Or no, she wanted me to give her a referral fee. And of course I was going to do that. You know why? Because there's another listing in that area I took, and I knew that I was going to have 50 people through that open house every single time. It was going to pay me off tenfold. She was just going to give it to. I get referral fees all the time. If someone comes, someone will call me from, out of the area. They'll say, "Can you help my client?" It's 25% to them. So you can't just be rigid and go, "No, I'm not going to give anything," and be dumb and lose the business. So think about it. At the same time, there's times that people ask things that just aren't acceptable. I was writing an offer with these people that you show. Going through the whole thing, and he goes, "Oh my God, I can't believe there's 50. Do I really need to do this?" And I go, "Yeah, that's what you need to do. It's 50 pages or whatever it is." And then we go through. We get to the processing fee. This is ridiculous. I'm not paying this. I'm not going to do this. I'm just not going to throw my money away. And I go, then we need to end this conversation because it's not going to go away. It needs to be paid. I don't know what you want me to tell you. Well, okay, But you eventually got to stick to your guns and go, look, I'm not going to just be fighting you the whole time. And at the end of the conversation, the guy says, "Ken, do I have to do this again?" I go, "No. We went through this. It's over. The next time we'll just read 2 or 3 pages, which is important. The rest of it's boilerplate. Ken, I'm using it because I trust everything you're telling me, and I trust in you." And it wasn't even discussed about anymore. Because you have to eventually put your foot down and go, look, I'm not going to play this game. I'm not going to go back and lay it on the line, even if you lose it. Because there's people that are just going to grind you and grind you and grind you and grind you. No, it's not happening. You are the leader. So it goes both ways. I'm going to end this with a video that Jesse wanted me to play, and it relates to our conversation.